It came without warning, and it spreads like wildfire. Since the first case of coronavirus was detected in Wuhan, China in late 2019, the shadow of fear and uncertainty has loomed over businesses all over the world.
This is a serious danger for public health. This virus, as you know, spreads with great speed.
A wide range of containment and restrictive measures announced by governments to slow and stem the spread of the virus has opened up an unprecedented chapter in the history of business, and the situation is still unfolding. Over 190 people worldwide have been infected, with the hardest hit countries being China, Italy, Iran, South Korea, and Spain. According to the latest data released by the Center of Systems Science and Engineering at Johns Hopkins University. More than 7,000 deaths have been reported overall, but the good news is that around 80,000 people have been recovered. The coronavirus, which has been named by the World Health Organization a global pandemic, has directly and indirectly impacted various segments of the economy.
We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
However, the airline industry, the hospitality sectors, have suffered the brunt of the situation, which has upended daily life of millions of people around the globe. Shockwaves are sent through Europe as US President Donald Trump decided to impose a 30-day travel ban on most visitors from the continent.
We are at a critical time in the fight against the virus. We made a life-saving move with early action on China. Now we must take the same action with Europe.
The announcement drew the ire of the European Union, which said in a strongly worded statement that it disapproves of the fact that the US decision to impose a travel ban was taken unilaterally and without consultation.
The coronavirus is a global crisis, not limited to any continent, and it requires cooperation rather than unilateral action. The European Union disapproves of the fact that the US decision to impose a travel ban was taken unilaterally and without consultation.
European leaders said they are taking strong action to limit the spread of the virus. Political leaders started using elbow bumps as a replacement for handshakes. In his address from the Oval Office, Trump said the source of the epidemic is a foreign virus and slammed the EU for having failed to take the same precautions as America when it came to restricting travel from China, the source of the outbreak. According to the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control, an independent agency of the EU, 61,000 cases have been reported in the EU, EEA and the United Kingdom as of March 17, 2020. As of the same date, over 2,700 deaths have been reported in the mentioned areas. In an exclusive interview with Reuters, Virginia Messina, the managing director of the World Travel and Tourism Council, said that around 850,000 people travel from Europe to the United States every month, equivalent to a 3.4 billion monthly contribution to the American economy. European Council President Charles Michel, who chairs the discussions among European heads of state, wrote on Twitter that economic disruption must be avoided. Trump's announcement added to the woes of the airline industry, which is already struggling with a host of flight suspensions, cancellations and disruptions, as well as the plunging demand as a result of travel advisories. Shares in the airlines have been badly hit. According to Reuters, Air France expected to cancel 3,600 flights in March, including cutting 25% of its European capacity and reducing long-haul capacity by 13% from initial plans. Its Dutch arm, KLM, also expects a reduction in long-haul operations on a similar level. American Airlines is cutting domestic capacity by 7.5% in April and will reduce the international capacity for the summer peak by 10%. British Airways said its survival was at stake and will have to make job cuts and ground an unprecedented number of planes. Deutsche Lufthansa announced that it will cut up in half its flights from April across its stable of airlines. Other airlines have taken similar measures and have warned of sweeping job cuts while ditching their financial outlooks. BBC says Chinese airline passenger number dropped by 84.5% in February, which, according to Chinese authorities, resulted in a financial loss of 21 billion yuan, $3 billion, for the civil aviation industry. The International Air Transport Association has forecast that the airline industry could lose about $113 billion in a worst-case scenario involving further aggravation of the situation. In an earlier forecast, the same group had estimated the cost of the airline industry would be $29.3 billion. The MICE industry, which stands for Meetings, Incentives, Conference and Exhibitions, is another sector that has been hugely impacted. The long list of previously scheduled events, including those organized by global tech giants such as Apple and Google, continues to grow. Some companies and organizations have pivoted to digital-only events to minimize the risk of the virus spreading further. A March 13 report by The Federal, an Indian-based news portal, wrote that the cancellation or postponement of over 500 major events across the world over 4 weeks resulted in a whopping loss of $42 billion for the global MICE industry. The slowdown in travel has caused tourism experts to point a bleak picture of the medium-term future of the sector, which accounts for 10% of the world's GDP and jobs. Especially in the light of partial border closures and the fact that several countries like India and Thailand have suspended or restricted the issuance of tourist visas. The managing director of WTTC told Reuters that world travel is likely to slump by 25% this year, and the coronavirus epidemic is putting up to 50 million jobs in the global tourism and travel sector at risk. Certain measures are not helping, and they can prompt economic impact to be way more significant, Messina said, referring to the US decision. Tourism Economics, an international journal covering the business aspect of tourism, was cited by CNBC as saying that global travel is expected to fall 9.1% this year, the largest decline ever in the past 40 years it has tracked. The pain is also being felt by tour guides, street vendors, and others whose jobs depend on visitor spending. Supply chains of some large companies around the world, especially automakers and phone manufacturers, have also been disrupted in recent months as they were forced to shut down their production facilities in affected areas such as China and South Korea for several weeks. However, several companies recently announced that they will resume production in China. Some companies have said it is too early to give an estimate of their expected loss, and some corporations have postponed the announcement of their financial results. The ripple effect of the current outbreak of coronavirus could be felt more strongly across all economic sectors in the coming months. An air of uncertainty is now hovering over businesses worldwide. Historically, we know all pandemics will end. How long will this one take? Months? Maybe a year? The million-dollar answer now is when?